Welcome, travelers, to another episode of the Time Travel Trio podcast. I'm Jen.
I'm Hyde.
And I'm Matt.
And we're
the Time Travel Trio. Woo!
Woo! All right, so we're post 1 year anniversary.
I know.
It's very exciting.
Very, very
Yes.
exciting. We've been doing this for over a year. I feel like we're veterans now.
We are, kind of. Kind of. Whose choice? Matt?
Yes.
What did you pick for us?
Today we are doing Source Code, the 2011 Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Okay, so have you seen this before?
No.
Have you seen this
I
before?
have seen this before.
I have not seen this before.
I knew nothing at all about this movie until I saw it.
Yeah, same with me, and I really enjoyed that about it, actually.
Yeah.
So the synopsis is, a soldier wakes up in someone else's body and discovers he's part of an experimental government program to find the bomber of a commuter train, a mission he has only 8 minutes to complete. Yeah, but he gets to do it multiple times, so it's
Right.
not like he only has 8 minutes and then he's
Right.
done.
Right.
It's not like that Al Pacino movie, 88 minutes. You only have 88 minutes to solve this crime.
Yeah. And so obviously, well, not obviously, I guess, it stars Jake Gyllenhaal. If you've seen the movie, then obviously, Anyway, Jake Gyllenhaal is the he soldier that it refers to. Michelle Monaghan plays a late 20-something on a train.
Yes.
Christina.
Yes.
Christina.
He plays Coulter.
Coulter. Mm-hmm. Beatty.
Or Sean.
Sean, yeah. Well, kind of.
The
True.
guy whose life he hijacked.
Yeah, poor Sean. His
Yeah.
life gets hijacked.
Beatty from The Hunger Games is
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright.
the scientist doctor man.
Yes, but who is also crippled in this movie.
In this movie.
Yeah, I asked Jen, I was like, is that actor, like, is he handicapped? Because, like, I've only seen him in wheelchairs, and then she's like, no, and the first time he's in Hunger Games, he's not paralyzed. It's
Right.
after the events of whatever.
Yeah.
Except he gets electrocuted.
Yeah.
Anyway, not here to talk about Hunger Games. Okay, so how'd you guys feel about this movie? Hyde, I know you said you've seen it before. How'd you feel going in this time?
Yeah, I saw it the first time, and I actually recommended it to my dad after seeing it. My mom and dad had told me that, hey, check this movie out. It's pretty cool. It's got time travel. I didn't tell him much about it.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it again another time, I still really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. It's a well-paced and exciting movie.
Mm-hmm. Matt?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I think part of like their science threw me off. I was like, kind of take me out of it a little bit. But yeah, I thought it was good. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal did a good job. I like Michelle Monaghan in it, and Vera Farmiga. Yeah, she was good too. So I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a lot, actually. Again, as we said, I went in knowing nothing about it and was just along for the ride, so to speak.
Oh, choo-choo.
Too soon? And I enjoyed it a lot. So let's play the trailer.
Hey, Sean. Hey. Sean! I took your advice. It was very good advice. Sean.
Look, I can see that you think you know me, but I don't know who you are. My name is Captain Coulter Stevens.
You're kind of freaking me out. Talk to me, Sean.
Look, I don't know who Sean is, and I don't know who you are.
Welcome back, Captain Stevens.
Where am I?
You are inside the source code.
What is the source code?
It's a computer program, Captain.
Source code enables you to cross over into another man's identity in the last 8 minutes of his life.
At 7:48 this morning, a bomb exploded on a train outside of Chicago, killing everyone on board.
Think, Captain, remember back. Who bombed the train?
I don't know who bombed the train.
Then try again.
Wait, no.
So, what do you think?
It's the same train, but it's different.
We've been informed there'll be another attack in 6 hours. If you find the bomber, the next attack can be prevented.
We cannot fail.
What would you do if you knew you had less than 8 minutes to live?
I'd make those seconds count.
I want to go back in. I'm going to save her.
You can't. It doesn't work that way.
Christina is dead.
She doesn't have to be.
You cannot alter this reality while inside the source code.
I'm asking you to have the decency to let me try. What's going on? He's in trouble. Tell me everything's gonna be okay.
Everything's gonna be okay.
I'm glad I didn't see that trailer before I watched this movie, because it feels like it gives away a lot of the plot.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that it gives, the two things I think it gives away that are kind of interesting is that, one, he wants to go back and try to save Christina.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I think it also gives away the fact that, like, basically how the timeline works. So that, I think giving away those two, I think they could have sold it with just saying, you have 8 minutes, you're going to get a couple chances, you basically have 6 hours to try 8 minutes, in 8-minute intervals to find out who this bomber is and stop him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been just enough to get people interested.
Yeah, and I think they should have driven that home a little bit more. I felt like it was a little bit vague watching the movie about how long he really had to complete this. I know eventually they're like, you need to hurry up, we don't have much time, whatever. But I think if there would have been like a ticking clock where I could see like 6 hours, whatever, some sort of a countdown for how long he had in these increments, I would have felt the suspense more that he needed to get this done as soon as possible.
Right. The movie eventually switches up the suspense to, can he save the people's lives on the train?
Yeah.
And can he save Christina, the woman he's like falling in love with, which is a moral quandary. I'm sure we'll just dissect it eventually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest question of the movie is this reality? Is this a computer simulation? Is, like, where is he? What is he doing? Like,
right.
What is he affecting? And in this, they kind of hinted in the trailer, but it's an alternate reality. Mm-hmm. Like, he's literally in a parallel reality.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
I liked that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that they did address, in the beginning of the movie, he's like, this is a simulation, and he kind of plays it that way, as if he, as a character, thinks that it's a simulation.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, because at first when he's in like his little capsule or whatever, it's like how are they working it? Like, oh, you find out it's actually jacked into his brain. He's not actually in there. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's in his brain, so they have some way to access other dimensions. And I guess the time travel is pinpointing the exact moment in the alternate dimension where he needs to be. Because otherwise, he's just being sent into alternate dimensions before this attack happens.
Yeah, I guess let's start getting into it, because the time travel here is very... I don't even know what the word would be.
Well, his mind is being sent back in time, but only relative to that other dimension. Like, if there's all these different dimensions existing at the same time together, he's being sent back in time to the point at which it's 8 minutes before the attack happens.
Why does it have to be 8 minutes?
I think that's like the way, if you want to think about it like biologically, it's like, he has the brain of Sean that they're covered, and using their quantum mechanics and parabolic calculus, they connect to an alternate version of Sean. So I guess
they can only get like 8 minutes of his brain.
Yeah, I mean,
basically.
Okay.
Obviously, it's sci-fi. We actually have a clip of the doctor explaining what's happening.
How this works.
Yeah, what's happening in source code of the program.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because this is an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah.
What is the source code?
It's quantum mechanics, parabolic calculus. It's very complicated.
Try me.
Fine. When a light bulb's turned off, there's an afterglow, a lingering halo-like effect. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Of course. The brain is like that. Its electromagnetic field remains charged just briefly, even after death. Circuits remain open. Now, there's another peculiarity about the brain. It contains a short-term memory tract that's approximately 8 minutes long, like a convenience store security camera that only records the last portion of the day's activity on its hard drive. Now, in combining these two phenomena, circuitry that remains viable post-mortem and a memory bank that goes back 8 minutes, source code enables us to capitalize on the overlap. Sean Fentress died on that train. Of all the passengers aboard, he was your best link. You two share compatibility in terms of gender, body size, and your synaptic maps.
What happens after the 8 minutes?
After, nothing. You cease to exist on the train. You cannot exist inside the source code beyond Fentress's 8 minutes. Source code is not time travel. Rather, source code is time reassignment. It gives us access to a parallel reality.
I mean, so this is when we think it's a simulation. So, like, okay, he has his brain, and they use his memory to create a simulation. Obviously, they don't, because, like, otherwise, how would he see the bomb there if Sean didn't see it in the first place, you know?
Yeah.
But then you find out, oh, he's in an alternate dimension. So that was my first, like, plot hole. I was like, how do they know where the bomb is if he didn't actually see it in his memory? But no, he's just in an alternate dimension.
Of course, the argument to it is they don't know exactly how the machine works themselves.
Right.
And the other thing is they're also probably not telling him for like security reasons. It's like you don't really want to tell somebody, like he's a soldier at the end of the day. It's like you don't necessarily tell a soldier how a nuke works. You just let them know you have to drop it.
Yeah, but the doctor doesn't understand what's actually happening.
Okay, but my issue with what you're saying, Hyde, is that what could he do about it?
True.
Even if they told him all this stuff, he's not a human being sitting in a box somewhere. It's his brain connected to these things. He's kind of dead.
Yeah, which they can wipe at any point. They can wipe his memory whenever they want, apparently.
Yeah. So, like, to me, I don't get why they don't just tell him the facts, what's going on, so that he can do the job. Because it's not like he's the one who pushes the button to send himself back. They can send him back whenever they want. He'll be there. So it felt like they were purposefully, you know, being evasive for the sake of the movie. Not because it logically made sense to not tell the main character information.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, but, like, my question is, are they creating these alternate dimensions, or are they just accessing them and dropping his brain in there?
Wouldn't it create an alternate dimension every time they send him back?
Well, that's the thing. Like, is he jumping into one that's already existing, or are they? Because if they're creating one, that's a whole other level of
it seems
sci-fi.
It seems like everything is the same until he gets there. I mean, it's hard to tell because we don't see it; we only follow him.
Yeah.
But I guess what I picture it as is that when he gets there, that's when it splits off into an alternate reality.
I see.
But before that, it's him being there is the catalyst that changes things because that is a change in the original
So
timeline.
you're basically saying
it's
time travel, his mind's going back, and the point at which he does go back, that creates a branching timeline where it's an alternate dimension created.
Almost like a fixed point because he goes back to the same time every time.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's how it is, but that's how I imagined it.
I mean, yeah, if you look at it that way, if it is a branching thing, like at the point at which he does time travel creates an alternate dimension, then yeah, that's obviously more time travel than what I was saying, where it's like just dropped his brain in at a certain point.
Only because it's the same every time, right? But they can choose when they want to drop his brain,
right?
Too, but in this circumstance, it depends on the event, is what I take it as. Almost like it's kind of reminding me of Deja Vu a little bit. That like
and it did, I did have some thoughts about Deja Vu watching this.
That there's only you can't go anywhere for any length of time. It's like a smaller window, kind of how Deja Vu was like you could only
your
see
travel's
2 days,
limited.
2.5 days in the past.
Right. I like that more than what I was saying. Where it's like, because if you think about this time travel rules, if that's the rule we're saying, as soon as you move back, boom, alternate timeline is created. And then it's like more limited. It's like once he's done with the mission, that's it. There's only a finite number of worlds that have been created that have the thing happening.
Yeah. My question too is, what about? There was at least one time, I think, when he gets hit by the train on the train track when it doesn't explode till later. Doesn't that mean that it was more than 8 minutes? Or not necessarily?
No, because
we don't know how long it was until he got...
Yeah.
Because he got off at the stop.
Right, and there was one more time where he was off the train and we see it explode in the distance after he took off one of the cell phones.
Yeah.
True.
So it's not right after it leaves the station that it explodes.
If he dies, he gets sent back to...
I think it's kind of like Ark, where it's like after 8 minutes, what matters is what we see him do. So it's like in that timeline, quote unquote, he gets sent back and he dies and that's it. I'm sure the train explodes, but now Christina's survived. But it's just a different dimension now where there's still a terrorist attack, and she just survived.
But he dies every single time.
I think so. Yeah, I think he does that every time.
He dies every time except for the final time.
Wait, no, wasn't there one time?
Yeah, that's true. No, there was not. The only time he survived was the last one.
What about that one point where he's looking at her face and she digitizes, she pixelates? Did they die in that one? Or
Yeah,
does
because
it just fail?
I think it still explodes.
Yeah, doesn't
it?
because then you see the flames
that's
coming
right.
up behind them.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one you're talking about, when he sees it in the distance, he still gets hit by the other.
He's hit by the train, and
Yeah,
then when
and
he
then
finds
he
the
gets
van,
shot.
he's shot.
Right.
So
Yeah, he does die every time.
when he finds a guy, he gets shot, which is interesting. I mean, the movie does do a good job of like upping the ante every time he goes back in. Like every time he goes back in, it's something different. Like it doesn't get too monotonous or repetitive. Like you feel like every time he goes in, you learn just a little bit more, and you figure out, okay, why? And it does a good job of saying, like, well, why does he? Like, because you're thinking at some point, why wouldn't he just do this? And then he does that, and you see why it doesn't work.
Yeah, I do like his reactions to stuff where he's like, at first he's kind of a dick to people, and like people don't like him, and then he finds out what to say to Christina to make her like, okay, just relax, be fine. Let me do this real quick. And like sometimes he's more of a jerk to other people, but like ultimately there's one timeline where he was like, she was like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm a new me," and he like walks away. He's all happy and stuff, and then it's kind of funny to see that.
Right.
yeah, I like that it changes because I think it would be less interesting to see him go back multiple times if it was the same events every single time
Right.
and it couldn't change anything.
Yeah, and we also see this too, where like there are certain things that keep happening. Like obviously in the beginning, the first minute, like the coffee on his shoe,
Yeah.
the soda opening. Eventually, he like calls him, and so it kind of like it streams like that kind of stuff.
But even that he can
he
change.
changes them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the rules.
Kind of discussing a little bit of them.
It's kind of it's weird because it's, as they say in the clip, it's not technically time travel, but it is kind of.
I mean, yeah.
His brain, I guess.
Yeah, I think the way that we're deciding it, I think. Because obviously the doctor doesn't know everything. Because if he did, he wouldn't. Because like at the end of the movie, he says he doesn't know what it actually does.
Yeah.
Because he sends her an email. Which how did he get her email address?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I don't know.
I mean, maybe, I guess if he knew her name, I mean, like, most people, even in the military,
Oh,
they have
yeah.
a public, they have a
that's
public extranet name,
Yeah, because like if he knows the branch, if he knows her like maybe like CS is like a title and like Goodwin at whatever,
Right.
whatever.
I mean, yeah, there's always like your shadow email and your real email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So the rules. So his,
yeah, so I guess technically, if we want to think about it in terms of actual time travel, is when he gets sent back, a new timeline is created. Essentially.
And so when there isn't an explosion, he isn't killed, so he's not sent back.
I know. Well, see, that's the thing. Like, if he doesn't die, what can they take him out of it? And then is Sean back in his body again, or
I mean,
Well, I don't know.
we never see that.
Because, he seems to be detached at the end from his dead body.
Right.
His other body is pretty much dead. Like, he's about as dead as you can get without, I guess, being completely dead.
Well, at the end, he does die. He has
True.
He flatlines.
It flatlines, that's true.
Right.
So it's
So
like,
yeah,
I'm
there's like a
guessing-
connection between the two brains, kind of.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's like completely like switched over to that guy's brain. He's like, into that Sean's body.
Well,
So-
I think in the computer program, I think they can hit a button to pull him out. But if they never hit the button, then he can stay in that timeline unless he doesn't die, or unless he does die.
so then the only way he leaves is if they take him out, or if he
I
dies.
think so. Yeah.
So if
It's
he
not
died,
like 8 minutes and then he's automatically sent back.
well,
I-
yeah,
I
he
think
exceeds
so.
8 minutes at the end in that last timeline. He
Yeah.
exceeds 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So I guess either what that means is he's completely detached from that system. Doesn't matter what they do. He's completely in that body. Or if they somehow decided to switch it off or he dies, he would go back to his other body, which is now dead, and just flatline and just be dead. And then a very confused Sean would probably wake up, or that Sean would just drop dead and just like become a like vegetable.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
Hollowed out
wondering.
brain.
What happened to the actual Sean?
Well, his brain
He's
is somewhere.
hijacked.
Yeah, his
He's-
brain was somewhere, placed somewhere.
I mean,
Because-
I think he's gone. I think he's
Because
like
as
in the
that-
final timeline, he's gone.
Yeah, he's like
Yeah.
Sean's completely gone. Jake Gyllenhaal's just
Because he wasn't there when the timeline changed.
But it's okay. Sean is just an average teacher. That's fine.
he's fine. He's not
just a
Jake
moderate teacher.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, but
I
like-
mean, but she doesn't get to.
Like-
I know she gets to date Jake Gyllenhaal without having the benefit of seeing Jake Gyllenhaal.
no, but like
Like
the poor
Sean
guy,
has a family.
he's a teacher.
Yeah,
What about this? Like Jake Gyllenhaal's not going to become a teacher.
I guess he has no choice now.
Well, he's like, let's just skip work. Like, he's never going to come back to teach ever again.
Yeah.
And like now Sean has a family
What a
that's
joke.
like, our son changed one day. Like, he doesn't even know who I am.
There are a lot of moral implications in this. I will be fair to the character Coulter Stevens. Like Coulter's not trying to take over Sean's life, necessarily. Right. He just has no other choice. It's like, Sean's dead. There's nothing I can do.
He made peace with his father.
Yeah, he's totally just trying to make sure Christina and the other passengers survive. He's not intentionally like, let me screw over Sean.
No, I know, but I wish that maybe he cared a little bit what happened to Sean.
Right.
It doesn't seem like he cares at all. He cares so much about saving every single person on the train. Except for Sean.
Right.
It's like at first...
You wouldn't be there without Sean.
It's like at first we hear about Sean, we see his face in the mirror, and like, no, it's okay, he's dead, or whatever, so you don't have to worry about it. But like, not anymore.
Yeah,
live now.
Not anymore. I mean, his brain may be in some jar with the military, but technically there's a Sean walking around right now in Chicago. Just doing his thing with Jake Coulter Stevens in his mind. So that is a little weird, Hart. Like, he does really get hijacked. You could have named this movie Hijacked.
Like, that would have been interesting.
although with the train it'd be misleading. Like, why isn't the train being hijacked?
But that's the mystery.
Yeah. So we see flashes of the future because he sees the reflection in the
what is
monument.
that about?
I mean, maybe. But see, that's the thing. Like,
he sees those flashes. It's not just us because he comments on it at the end of the movie.
Right. Yeah. So that's my that is a question. It's like, let's say. Like, the moment at which they create an alternate reality, I guess that would be in the past because it's shortly after the train thing. So, like...
That's true. When he wakes up from being on the train, it's technically ahead in the future.
Right, relative to where that new alternate reality
went back. So
and that means in that timeline, there's still a body.
There is still a body.
That's alive because they haven't been activated.
Stevens.
So wait, what does that mean?
Well, see, I thought about that.
Duplicates.
There's two of his brains.
Yeah, and that's what he does in the email. He tells Goodwin that, like, like, just so you know, it works, and just take care of me. I know he's in there.
Tell him everything's going to be okay.
He's like, you have a Coulter Stevens there, whatever.
Yeah, tell him everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's which is very...
I thought about that. It was pretty interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I like
it can nest egg.
Yes.
Like, the next disaster, he goes in and figures out the thing, and then it creates other branching timelines of him.
It's like primer mix of like... You know what this is, though? Actually, the rules of this remind me if 12 Monkeys had been the exact same thing, and at the very end, Bruce Willis was able to prevent, like, his own, like, basically, spoiler alert, death. But, I mean, you know...
Like, that would ruin that movie's time travel, but yeah.
It would, but I'm just saying, like, that's really... I mean, Source Code, I like their time travel in that, like, it's a whole different thing.
It is different from what we've done so far, pretty much.
But it's... Yeah, that's basically kind of what's happening.
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, like, you can't change the past. You can only get information from the past. Wrong. I can change it, and I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole... okay.
Yeah, poor Sean, though. I mean, Sean's really the only one who gets screwed out of this thing.
He's the only one to actually technically die. His brain ceases to be in that final timeline.
Sean gets totally screwed. His only crime, dating Michelle Monaghan.
Well,
almost
he was almost he was pretty close to being friend zoned if he didn't do anything about it.
True,
because she was like, "Come on, do something."
He had in his calendar like coffee with Christina, and he had it circled. Like he was planning on asking her out.
Maybe
I don't know. That also sounds like something someone would do if he really wasn't going to do anything. I mean, look, Sean, because you were so weak-willed, you just got taken over by Alpha Jake Gyllenhaal.
No, it's not fair. Okay, so consequences of this time travel.
Well, Sean, we talked about that.
Of course.
Yeah, the person your brain gets sent into.
An alternate timeline that now the characters we follow exist in this new timeline. So, like, Goodwin goes to work and the train explosion never happened. The threat comes in that Jake Gyllenhaal called in, but the actual explosion didn't happen, so they didn't get to use source code. So...
Yeah, because I think at the end the doctor was like, pretty soon there'll be a disaster that I can use it at, you know?
Right.
Yeah, very evil.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which the sequel, you find out that he actually did engineer the accident or, you know, whatever. That's like...
There's a sequel?
No, I'm saying like that would be the plot of the next movie.
Yeah, like I planned it. I know they're planning to do a sequel. At one point they're planning to do a TV show at CBS. And CBS was like, oh, never mind. And like, let's just do a movie sequel. So apparently they're going to do a movie sequel.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like... If they keep succeeding in all these aversions through using source code, the timeline in which they succeed, nothing ever goes wrong. So at some point,
nothing major ever goes
right,
wrong.
nothing major, but like that doctor would be like, something has to go wrong. So like at one point, he's gonna have to engineer some disaster. He might like snap, and like want to create some disaster.
Yeah, if they keep it Jake Gyllenhaal. But I think it would be interesting to see different people.
Yeah?
Yeah, it would be like a completely different team.
Yeah.
Maybe a cameo from like Vera Farmiga's character, like, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine all the different timelines? Like if you mapped out, if that were the case, like 8 different people working
then it would
on
be
source
Primer.
code, it would be like it would just be branching off all these different branches.
Just
Crazy.
everyone with like weird personalities, like sudden personality change. Like it'd be like become like a medical disorder, not knowing what was happening. So like one day he was just this guy who was like, yeah, I'll have coffee with Christina, and now he's just like, I'm taking charge and I'm doing jokes and being mean to people and rubbing elbows.
How did you guys feel about them trying to hide the fact that Jake Gyllenhaal was actually dead? When did you realize it?
Like that he was like half a body in a case.
That he's not actually like in a containment cell somewhere.
It was when he was in the capsule and like, she said like, "Oh, you're dead," and then like the capsule changes in front of him. Okay, he's in his head, obviously, not in an actual capsule.
How did you feel about that in the plot, though? Did you?
I like that.
Yeah,
because I think then it kind of mellowed out the stakes in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, look, dude, you just gotta save everyone. Like you have a job. I also kept thinking it made him like more focused. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when RoboCop realizes I'm dead, kind of thing. He's just kind of like, oh, so I should just make sure I can make everyone else's life better because my life sucks.
Yeah, and it also helped him disconnect from that reality because he's like, oh, well, now everyone in there thinks I'm dead, which I kind of am. So like, let me just work on getting this. Let me just save these people, and if that's all I have, that's fine. And it was also like a reveal of like, at first I was like, how are they accessing his brain if he's not hooked in the capsule? Like, oh, he isn't actually in the capsule, so it's fine.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, like, at that point when it looks like he's going to freeze to death or he's going to die or something, and you're like, I felt like I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Right, because he's just walking around.
Somewhere, like, is he somewhere else? And that's why they can't fix him, or like, what is going wrong? Like, I'm guessing his brain was...
Yeah, it had like some weird
doing something.
thing. Yeah.
So,
I mean, maybe his brain was... I mean, I took it when I saw it, it's like his brain was like dying, basically. Like, and so like, it was manifesting in a way that he could physically understand it, because he's like in a virtual reality. Mm-hmm. But really what's just happening is like, they're just reusing his brain too many times, basically.
Yeah, and Beatty, sorry, I don't remember his name in this movie, but Beatty says, it's up to him to figure it out or to fix it or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so dare I ask this question? How's the scientific accuracy in this movie?
Well, as we heard in the clip, it's quantum mechanics and parabolic calculus.
I feel like quantum mechanics is something every movie uses to try and sound scientific and fancy.
I know. Well, parabolic calculus doesn't mean anything. Calculus is just calculus. It's study of physics. It's like rate, it's either a curve or it's the tangent of the curve or it's the rate of change or whatever.
So how would it...
Like a parabola is just a graph. This doesn't really mean anything.
It just sounds...
Yeah, like
so
obviously...
You're like saying you're a timeline historian.
Yeah.
It's like if you think about it, like let's say they are accessing some part of Sean's dead brain and using quantum mechanics to jack into some alternate reality of him or go back in time to create some alternate timeline. If it's creating an alternate timeline, then they are using some way to like send his brain back in time, kind of like in Days of Future Past. But I don't know. I mean, when you say quantum mechanics, sure, anything can happen because we don't fully understand it yet. But like, I don't know. It's just
a cop
mumbo
out.
jumbo. Yeah, it's like whenever the character goes like, "You'll never understand it." It's just quantum mechanics. That's just the writers being like, "It's fine, just write it off."
Listen, guys. It's a time travel movie. You want to see time travel? Stop asking questions.
Yeah,
and watch this guy get blown up again on a train.
Yeah. So they've had his body, his dead body, and half dead brain.
Yeah.
For 2 months.
Yeah.
How do we feel about this?
I mean, it's definitely unethical. That's like the whole B story. That's the whole B plot of the film. It's like he wants kind of the right to like die with dignity in a sense, but also at the same time he has a sense of duty. I mean, it's something that's an interesting thought. Like if you were a soldier and you died, and then someone said, "Hey, we brought you back just long enough for you to save like hundreds of people, like thousands of people potentially,
But you're still dead.
but you're still dead." It's like, well, I mean, be kind of a jerk. Like, I don't know. If you're about to enter the afterlife, you probably should keep doing as many good deeds as possible.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, no, F those guys. They can see me in hell.
Yeah.
One thing about this movie is that, like, I like the way that Jake Gyllenhaal in the real world, I guess, quote unquote, the original timeline, the way he reacts to everything, because, like, in his memory, he was just on an airplane and he got that's all I know is that was him being shot down.
Right.
So I guess his brain just now turned on again when they had the body to hook him up to. So he's like, what's happening to me? I have these memories of me being in this airplane, and then he isn't anymore.
Right.
Once he kind of realized what happened, he was fine with leaving that his old body again, you know? So I guess it is like the soldier mentality of like, now I understand what's happening. My dad thinks I'm dead. My body's destroyed. Let me just save all these people as best I can.
Right.
I thought it was emotional when he talked to his dad. I thought he did that really well. I really... I liked that they actually had that in the movie.
Yeah.
Me too. Like, sometimes in these movies, like, in things like this, like, the families are, like, totally, like, non-factors.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see that play in. Plus, I've never seen, at least so far, I've never seen a bad performance from Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, in, like, the 20 years of his career, I don't think I've ever seen one
You just
performance.
believe him.
Yeah. So it's just like,
Yeah.
he sold it.
Yeah.
He was pretty fun in this movie when he was talking to the doctor, and he was like, "I called you." He's like, "You didn't get that?" He's like, "I didn't get anything." He's like, "How about I send you a pizza? Let's see if that leaves an impression."
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so obviously it's relevant to the story. The story is this: we do follow Jake Gyllenhaal,
Right, using the
pretty
time
much
travel.
the whole time. Aside from towards the end of the movie, we do actually get to see Goodwin doing stuff apart from talking to him.
Right.
Yeah.
So we wake up and we're trying to figure this out with him, which I always, in movies like this, I do enjoy that more than like someone stepping back and saying, "This is what we're doing. We're going in. This is happening." It's like you wake up with this person like,
"My name's Sean.
Yeah,
I was on a commuter train,
Yeah.
and suddenly my brain got hijacked."
Life is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like
I
a
like
weird
Christina,
AA
but I don't know if she
meeting.
likes me too.
Yeah.
Like Blink-182 is playing softly in the background as the camera zooms and dollies
Right.
in
Yeah, right.
around different people.
So I like that we got to figure it out with him.
Yes.
I think that was the smart way to play this movie.
I like that he's not too more... Even though he can outthink the audience a little bit, like he's like a half step ahead, he's not smarter than the audience. He's making decisions that the audience would make.
I mean, he knew exactly where the bomb was the first try. He was like, "Let me look up at this vent. Here's the bomb."
Well, but he did know that it came from behind him.
Yeah, but he wasn't the last train in the car. Or he wasn't the last car in the train.
True.
Yeah, but like where, you would need to... He was also a soldier. I don't think it's unreasonable. It's like, where would you have to hide a bomb where no one will find it, but it's still like...
I mean, just because of years of movie training, I'd probably check the vents too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's gotta be in the vents. Everything's in the vents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he did go in the bathroom before, so maybe he,
Yeah, sense something.
felt...
Soldier sense.
Sure.
My soldier sense is tingling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clothes and sets, anything you guys noticed?
The cell phones.
The cell phones were...
Those weren't cell phones in 2011. That's like movie cell phones, right? None of those are real cell phones.
They're like how movies invent like fake looking cell phones for bombs.
Yeah.
But you don't actually like use it for something.
Yeah, they're like flat, and they always just have like the
It's
basic.
just really big keys.
Well, the reason why they have to do that, or why they generally do that. Okay, so here's a rule about production design and props.
Mm-hmm.
If you are using an item for its intended purpose, you can technically use the logo. So the example that's always used for me is, imagine someone's using a bottle of Heinz ketchup, like a glass bottle of Heinz ketchup at a diner. As long as the only thing they're doing is putting that Heinz ketchup on food, it's totally fine to show the Heinz ketchup logo. But say that person took the Heinz ketchup bottle and like smashed someone over the head with it. Suddenly Heinz is like, you cannot do that.
Yeah,
we'll
that
sue
makes
you.
sense.
So it's like with a cell phone, you don't want to be like, get this new Samsung Galaxy
Used to detonate
7,
bombs.
Note 7.
Yeah.
It's a bomb.
That's true.
It's the bomb.
I do, yeah, that's funny. I did hate the Dunkin' Donuts blatant product placement. It was unnecessary. What commuter train has an entire Dunkin' Donuts on the train? No!
The commuter train I would like to be on.
No!
Hey,
But there's a bomb in that train, maybe. But there's Dunkin' Donuts.
You're gonna blow up Dunkin' Donuts.
somebody had to pay for those prop phones, so Dunkin's Donuts came. They came through.
American runs on Dunkin's, and so does time travel.
And commuter trains.
And commuter trains. I do like the Russell Peters.
Yeah, Russell. I saw him. I was like, that guy looks familiar, and I was like, oh yeah, he's a comedian. Obviously, it's Russell Peters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was cute.
Also, closing sets. Can I say, as someone who has kind of a thing for this, seeing Via Farmiga in military uniform is incredibly sexy.
She looked great. Yeah.
I love women in uniform, but like that was
Fun
really
fact,
nice.
ladies.
Yeah. Also, it's nice to see her as not like this pseudo incestuous like serial killer like she's in Bates Motel.
Mm.
It's a hard show to watch more than like
I don't think I've seen anything else that she's been in.
Up in the Air.
I have not seen that one.
Oh, you gotta
It's
see
in there,
it.
Yeah.
You gotta
I know.
see it. Up in the Air. Great film.
She's great in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Running Scare with young Paul Walker. That's not a great movie, but she's in it and she's really hot in it. So
All right.
Well, there you go. Okay. Would you guys want to experience this time travel? I'm gonna go ahead and pass right now.
If I woke up and I was told that my body's been destroyed and this is the only way to save people and access a different reality, I'd have to say yes. Otherwise, what would I do? Just be a
No, but it's the
half
idea.
a corpse?
Would you want to put yourself in that position?
Oh, no.
No, would I want to
Not
be?
if you woke up. Would you do
Yeah.
it?
Well, I mean, that's not the movie. He just wakes up. But
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
But like, would you?
Would I want to be Coulter Stevens? No, thanks.
Would you want to put yourself in his shoes? No.
No, I would definitely want to be Coulter Stevens. It'd be even worse if be Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor
At least if
Sean.
I'm Coulter Stevens, like, all right, I had a rough 6 hours. You know what? Now I totally get to like have coffee with Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah, Sean is like an average teacher who just one day just ceases to exist.
Yep. Yep. He's irrelevant. He's movie irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teachers.
Someone would care. His mother would care.
Yeah. For a while at first, everyone would be like, Sean. They'd be like, Sean, you finally did it. You finally asked her out. Yay, good for you. And he's like, yeah, you seem more assertive. And then after a while, they'd be like, you don't remember that? That happened just a year ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, hey, buddy, how you doing? Hey, you.
That's what the Hijacked movie is. It follows post.
Yeah, it's that timeline.
Jake Gyllenhaal, Sean.
That's
yeah.
the sequel.
That's the sequel. Yeah, that would be a great sequel. Just like it goes completely comedy. It's not even like a
It's-
thriller. It's just a comedy of him having to pretend he's someone
Like
else.
sitting at a Thanksgiving dinner and like his family sharing stories, and they're like, "Sean, don't you remember that?"
It's like, Sean, don't you remember?
No.
Like, don't you? No. Don't you remember when your brother fell through the ice and you rescued him? What? Like it's a wonderful life.
Like
I'm a hero.
that defined your life for like basically 10 years. That was who you were. You saved everyone. That's what your thing.
So like he's like trying to teach his kids, and like he's like a science teacher. He knows nothing about science.
No, he's a history teacher.
Oh,
Do
history
you like the irony of
Oh,
that?
that's right. Of course.
Of course, he's a history teacher.
Yeah.
It's like Logan when he wakes up at Days of Future Past. He's a
like-
history teacher
he's a
because
history
he doesn't
teacher.
remember history.
Ah,
Stop writing that in movies, writers. That's stupid. Give him an actual career and do some research. Don't cop him out and make him a fucking teacher
A history teacher,
Or an architect.
or an
or an
architect,
architect
or a writer,
Yeah.
or a consultant.
or a journalist.
That's yeah. Especially when it makes no sense for them to be a journalist. Like, I'm a journalist. I don't do any journaling.
Yeah, Clark Kent. Who the fuck do you think you're fooling?
He's a terrible journalist. Clark Kent has the biggest scoops of the year, and he's terrible.
He's terrible.
Oh, speaking of product placement, there is a long shot of the Bing on the cell phone when he was like searching.
Oh, yeah.
It was like just
Oh, Bing.
yeah. If you're gonna Google something, Bing it. You know that's what you.
Yes, because if
To quote
I
Kanye Bang
have limited time, I'm gonna trust Bing to get me through.
The shot like stayed on that for a while. It was just like a blank. He wasn't even typing it. It just said Bing for like 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah, it was a long time.
I think the worst one, those kind of the Amazing Spider-Man has a really bad Bing product placement moment where you're just like, okay, Peter Parker using Bing.
Yeah, right.
This was like right when it started too, like 2011. Wasn't that right
around
when
when
was
it
like
came.
yeah being hip?
Does anyone actually use Bing? Where do they get all this money to
I've used it a couple of
afford
times.
this product placement?
Bing, I will say Bing is better when you need directions than Google Maps.
Interesting.
I wouldn't know that, but sometimes they have different results, like
Yeah.
for image searches and stuff like that. It's better than sometimes it's better than Google image
Yes.
searches.
And let me clarify with the Google Maps. Google Maps is fantastic in terms of what it does, but Bing is better at telling you actually how much long time it's going to take you to get there.
Interesting.
Like, Google Maps never seems to have an accurate, like, it's going to take you 30 minutes. It always goes up.
I mean, mine's pretty good. I don't know. I think you just have a weird Google Maps thing.
Probably.
I don't know.
You
To
have
be
a weird
fair.
one.
To be fair, I probably do, actually.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the worst I think I've ever seen of this kind of product placement was G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra.
Oh my god.
Where Dennis
That's
Quaid
that
at one
movie.
point, it's not Bing, but it's Cisco telepresence. And he was like, 24 already did some really bad Cisco telepresence stuff. But literally in the middle of the movie, Dennis Quaid just says, "Let's connect using Cisco telepresence." And I'm like,
That's great.
and like the little logo flashes up. And then
Deep
Snake
Quaid.
Eyes just like walks through. I'm like, what is this?
This is nonsense.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
I thought the villain was the most bland,
He was-
white privilege, just
He
like
was definitely-
the basic anarchy.
It was definitely like he was supposed to look that way, so he wouldn't
yeah.
figure out who he was. And like the cop out of racial profiling just because someone's sweaty in a bathroom. Like, you know, the guy he suspected before.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They do that in a lot of movies, especially there'll be books written about it one day, or like chapters and books about like post 9/11, like movies saying like about racial profiling.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like awareness, but it's also like really just calling it out. If anything, like you're
Yeah.
still using it.
I do know what you mean, though. I felt like I needed more of a reason than, well, I want to, rebuild the world.
We need rubble to
forged in
rebuild.
fire. Like such a bland cliche thing.
Right.
Every villain everywhere has decided that's the reason why
yes.
they need to rebuild things, need to destroy things.
We will destroy this world, and then from the ashes build a better one.
Yeah.
And then whenever he was like caught or whatever, whenever like he had an upper hand, he was such like a okay, like
He's just
obviously at the
boring.
end, obviously he's found out, but like when he first saw the nuke or whatever, even then he was kind of like, obviously he was kind of letting Jake get in there so he can kind of turn on him with a gun, but like I don't know, he just wasn't a good villain.
No,
No.
he's
Whatever.
not. The
They-
situation is a great
Mhm.
conflict, but the villain itself is very afterthought.
Yeah, they needed to give him much more of a personality, much more of a reason why.
Right.
And I would have liked to have seen that fleshed out a little bit.
This might have made the story too complicated, but how interesting would it have been if, for some reason, this is really weird, maybe because we've been talking about him for so long. Ones if, like, Sean's brain ended up in someone else's, like, the terrorist's brain, and Sean decided, you've stolen my life, so I'm going to just kill all of us.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
Yeah, that would really complicate things.
damn
But
you.
Well, one thing that I was thinking might have been a possibility was, what if Sean was the bomber? They didn't know who the bomber was. What if they happened to put him in the brain of the bomber?
I did think about that.
I think it
because-
would have been much more interesting.
Because he looked in his bag and was like, "Oh, broken cell phone." Which, Sean, why do you have a just broken cell phone in your bag?
What are you doing with your life, Sean? Come on,
Right.
get it together.
Sean's
It's like
a mess.
I mean, I did think about that, and like maybe the cell phone had like a timer because obviously Jake wouldn't have hit the button every time, because we see him.
But what if
But
it was a timer
what
that
if-
was set up before he went to
Exactly.
quote unquote asleep? That I think would have been more interesting.
Yeah, and I thought that's what would have happened. Like I almost thought that was going to be the case.
Yeah,
That would
me
have
too.
actually
Like I was like, okay, he's probably it.
really interesting.
Or if it, and then when it was kind of clear that wasn't the case, I was like, well, what if it's Michelle Monaghan and she's like playing?
The first time I did see the movie, I did think Michelle Monaghan was the terrorist. Like, until obviously he has a scene where he confronts the actual terrorist, I was thinking, dude, one's that the woman he's falling in love with is the terrorist, and like that's why he can't figure it out, because he's like blinded by his attraction to her.
Blinded by the light. I think that would have been more. Well, I would have said more not unique.
It's
but-
different. I mean, obviously, it's rewarding to see them be together because that's what you want to see. In it,
But I think also we gravitate towards wanting that or thinking that because we want to see a villain who has a personality, someone who we have gotten to know a little bit, not just some guy who left his wallet on the train. Like, even the guy who gives the wallet back with the bicycle, I think, has a little bit more personality than Derek Frost.
Yes,
Yeah.
Frost.
Derek Frost, okay.
Yeah, that name.
He's not a comic book villain.
Yeah,
Like,
that's like the 30
calm
second
down.
name. Like his name's Derek because that sounds like an evil guy's name, and then Frost because he's ice cold.
Yep. That's literally the logic that was
Derek
behind it,
Frost.
I'm sure. Any other notes you guys had? about the film?
That's pretty much it for me. As you know,
Yeah.
Michelle Monaghan was great. I thought she was, she's
Awesome.
charming, and
Yeah, she's great.
She's been in a couple good spy movies.
wasn't she also in True Detective?
And
Yes. Or was she?
She was in Eagle Eye.
Yeah, she was in Eagle Eye. She was in a couple of Mission Impossible movies. Yeah.
All right, final reviews. I'll start. Movie rating. So I really enjoyed this movie, actually. Regardless of the fact that the science was ridiculous, I could kind of get past it and put it in kind of sci-fi-ish. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It was fun to watch. I don't know if I would want to watch it again anytime soon, just because I've already... Now that I know what happens and what everything really is, there's not as much of a mystery like, oh, I want to go back and see how they played that now knowing the information. It's like there wasn't that much of it that I, wanted to revisit, really. But I enjoyed it while it was unfolding. So 8 out of 10. Clyde?
Yeah, it's a movie. I'm going to be right there with you. I think we can give it an 8 out of 10 as well, because it's one of those films like you really enjoy it when you watch it. I agree with you. It's not a highly rewatchable film, but it's a fun ride while you're watching it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a great... for the genre, it's very strong.
Yeah.
And good performances. It's well shot and edited. Really well paced.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't drag.
As soon as you feel like it's going to drag, it switches and it picks up, or it goes to another time, and yeah.
So 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't have much to dock points for the movie in general, so I'll probably be right around there. I'll probably settle on a 7.5.
Nice.
Not for any particular reason, but it didn't wow me as much as some other movies have with the reveals and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought the performances were good. I thought it was that was a good movie.
Cool. Time travel rating. It still feels, even after we kind of have talked about it and dissected it a little bit more, it still kind of feels a little bit like a mess to me in ways. It still feels like jargon that doesn't logically have well-established rules, because the people who build it haven't figured out really what it is, what it can do. So we kind of, in that sense, I don't know, it's hard because I feel like I want to give a little leeway because of that, but it's also maybe that's just an excuse so you don't have to write, intricate time travel rules. So, 6 out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, time travel rating, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. The time travel rules in terms of the science are a mess. Mm-hmm. But in terms of how it affects the plot of the film, it's pretty well thought out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of on the science end, it's horrible. But on the movie entertainment end, it's really fun. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of in between. I had to dock those points and then even it up with that. So 5 out of 10 for its time travel.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that the science is hard to even sort through their mess. But it is fun how it creates the movie.
Yeah, I was going to give it less points than what I'm going to end up giving it, because at first I was parabolic calculus, whatever. But the more I thought about it, I really like the idea of they send the brain back in time and then it creates an alternate, then it branches, but it's still connected as long as he's alive and the brains are connected for the 8 minutes. So that gave it a couple more points. Obviously, how are you going to send a brain back in time using quantum mechanics? There's no way to do that. For that reason, it's just pure sci-fi, obviously. Yeah. But I'll probably end up. I almost want to say 3, but it wasn't that bad because it did end up being a good. I don't know. It wasn't useless. It actually served a purpose. So I'll probably settle on a 4.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I do want to mention before we go to Rotten Tomatoes, Jake Gyllenhaal's dead body, and the brain is out of his skull with wires hooked up to it, and he's in a glass thing, and you can see his intestines, and it's just it wasn't gory gross, it was just almost a little ridiculous.
You're you didn't even put the sheet down or something?
Right.
I'm why? It just...
He still looks good though.
He had a beard, he had some good scruff going.
Yeah, he still had a nice stubble.
Why would they need... If they just needed his brain... I don't know.
They probably need his heart too to
They keep blood.
Yeah, they need.
But he's dead.
No, well, he's still alive until he flatlines. He's on life support.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like a vegetable almost.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess.
Plus,
Anyway.
who wants to destroy that good-looking face?
Not
And this is coming from a guy who's had 4 dreams about Jake Gyllenhaal in his lifetime.
4.
And I'm not gay in the slightest, but yet I've had weird dreams about him.
Are they Brokeback Mountain type
No,
of dreams?
he's just in my dreams. He's like talking to
Alright.
me. We're hanging out. We're having good times.
Maybe they're alternate dimensions where
Ooh.
he's saving the day.
Oh my gosh, is he
Wow.
trying to take over my brain to like get close to a woman I know?
I mean, like, he had dreams of the future, so who knows?
Mm.
Interesting fact that this director also did Moon.
And the Warcraft movie that
Oh,
came
yeah,
out.
cool. Yeah,
What a
Moon
weird,
was pretty
Yeah.
good.
a weird.
Moon was
assignment.
pretty good.
Moon was good.
Another movie about like copying and duplication and
Yeah,
the human soul.
not
Yeah.
time travel though, so we won't
No,
be looking
no.
at that. Okay, Rotten Tomatoes. Wow, 92%.
Interesting.
That is pretty high. Finding the human story amidst the action, director Duncan Jones and charming Jake Gyllenhaal craft a smart, satisfying sci-fi thriller.
Yeah, it's 92% fresh, but the average rating is 7.5, so I nailed it.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think that's about right because like everyone's probably just like I can't not recommend this movie.
Yeah.
It's just like you know
Yeah,
It's a good movie.
audience is 81%, so
Yeah.
we were pretty spot on.
they were all pretty good.
Yeah, cool. So
The next film.
the next movie is back to my choice.
Woo!
Guys, I'm really excited.
Oh.
I super love this movie. We're doing Kate and Leopold. I
Hugh
can't wait to
Jackman-
get into it.
Hugh Jackman's back.
I've seen this movie multiple times, probably an inappropriate amount of times
That's
for
awesome.
a normal human. I love Meg Ryan. I love Hugh Jackman. I love time travel.
It's written by Captain America.
I love it. It's written by Steven Rogers.
And James Mangold, who directed and helped write the Wolverine and the new upcoming Logan film.
Really?
Yeah, think about that's weird. And it also explains like Lee Schreiber's Sabretooth.
Liev Schreiber
Interesting.
is in this movie. So is Breckin Meyer.
Yes.
Fun story. I met Breckin Meyer once, had a conversation with him. Nicest guy ever. He's awesome.
Nice.
Bradley Whitford's in this movie. Like, this movie is
Kristen Shaw's in
Awesome.
it.
fun.
Kristen Shaw's in this too?
Yeah, she's Miss Tree.
Wait, wow, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow. Takes 10 years to become an overnight sensation, as they say.
Because, I mean, like, because Flight of the Conchords was, like, late 2000s, I think, right? Because she was on that. That was, like, one of her breakout roles.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. I've never seen this movie before, so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, there's some really long summaries. Basically, Kate, Meg Ryan, lives in present day. Leopold stumbles upon a time traveler and falls through a portal and is sent back to present day. He's from, like, old
19th
England
century-
time,
yeah, 19th.
1870s, and goes back to 21st century, and antics ensue.
It's a very sweet movie.
It's a cute, like, rom-com-y kind
Change of
of
pace.
drama. It's not like a suspense thriller. It's comedy, fantasy, romance. So,
I don't know if I remember that dinner conversation gets pretty suspenseful with her boss.
there's some intense moments. This came out Christmas Day, 2001. It's good times, I guess. I don't know. I don't remember. I was young. Only a youngling. Okay. Have you guys seen this movie? I've obviously seen
Yes.
it.
I've never seen it. Yeah, I was
Nice.
like 15 when it came out.
I'm very curious to see how you feel about this movie.
My parents rented it on video after when it came out on video that
Mm-hmm.
year it came out. Like, they went to go see it together and then they rented it. My dad was like, "No, you'll like it. There's time travel and science." And I'm like, "This is a romance movie." But I ended up liking it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
He tricked me. My dad tricked me into watching a romantic movie.
And here you are,
I know.
secretly a romantic.
I know. Deep down. Don't tell anyone, listeners.
Except tell everyone, 'cause
Ladies.
please listen to our podcast.
Yeah. Okay, so social media. We are at Time Travel Trio on Twitter and Instagram, and we are the Time Travel Trio podcast on Facebook. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. And follow, rate, subscribe. If you have any suggestions of movies you want us to do, or anything, any questions, we would love to address that for you.
Yeah, I think we've identified most of the time travel movies.
We have a long list still of stuff coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, but we can reorganize if things are
Yeah.
more higher demand.
So if there's
obviously.
something you guys want to hear, let us know and we'll move it up on the list. Fun fact, Kate and Leopold was nominated for an Oscar.
Best music.
Best
Oh,
original
well, I guess
song
Sting was nominated, but
from Sting.
yeah. All right.
But Hugh Jackman was nominated for a Golden Globe. for best comedy or in a musical or comedy performance.
See? You should watch this movie. I think it's still on Netflix, last time I checked. So, okay. And with that...
Oh, wait.
Wait.
Our social media handles.
I just did that.
Oh, did for all of us?
Oh, our personal ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. No one actually follows our personal
Fine,
ones.
Hyde. Go ahead.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RobinsonIsHyde.
And I'm at Foreman in Space.
I'm at Jen Marlis. Don't follow me. No, you can follow me.
And,
I don't ever tweet. Literally, all I tweet is like retweets of our podcast.
yeah.
Or if I'm watching a movie and need to rant about it.
Same here.
And with that...
We are out of
Time.